All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The winter season opener from Lanier. Richie Joplin and Mark D'Antuma on the front row. Michael Whiting, Mark Nelson on the second row. Gerald Poole, Stephen Lindner on the third row. Jess Chambers, Dawn Warren on the fourth. Gil Gwalkin, Ryan Warp round out the top 10. Kevin Bruner starting in 11th next to rookie Steven Seams in 12th. Clinton Chambers in 13th, Jack Wilson in 14th, Craig Jennings in 15th, Mike Burgess in 16th, Tim St. Jean, Robert Eggert, and Ryan Seneker round out the 19-car season opener. Everybody gets stacked up. It looks like Ryan Seneker is not going to take the grid. So it'll be an 18-car race. I have no idea. All right, pace car leads him around. He'll drop in at a turn 4, and Barney will wave the green flag almost the second the pace car hits pit road. It's going to be quick. These drivers got to be on their toes on the restarts. Here we go. Pace car is in. The green flag flies. They are underway at Lanier. Richie Joplin quickly shoots to the lead. And wow, a lot of guys in a four-wheel drift. They got to get some heat into those tires quickly. The top two starting to break away. Michael Whiting and Mark Nelson battling for third. Gerald Poole right there on their bumper. Not a lot of space on this track. Everybody inches apart. Tonight, Brian, sadly. Richie Joplin out front has pulled almost a 1-second gap on Mark D'Antuma. Michael Whiting in third. Mark Nelson did just set the fastest lap of the race. Stephen Lindner, Dawn Warren battle out back behind. Ryan Warp lurking right behind them. Hey, good evening, Kenny. Mike Burgess on the move. Mike already up 3 spots into 13. Surprisingly, Tim St. Jean still lurking back in 16th. Don't count him out yet, though. He is one of the guys that does have a tendency to make his way through the field. Kenny, go to homemotorsports.com to sign up. Now up into 13th, right on Jack Wilson's bumper. Robert Eggert also up 3 spots. He also has is starting to shrink. Mark Dantuma starting to reel him in. Michael Whiting is cleared into third. Mark Nelson has slipped back into fifth. I'm doing great. Kenny, how are you? And I believe it's fixed. And the caution is out for the first time. Mike Burgess had a problem. See if we can see what happened with Mike. There's Mike down on the inside. He cuts up. Slides up just a little bit, gets a bit of a bump. Talked about it in pre-race. These cars are right on the edge. One little tap will send them around. And remember, these guys do not have any fast repairs. So Burgess could be on pit road for a while. He still hasn't made it in yet. Looks like he's going to tow it in. This does give us a chance to crank it up on the restart. And folks, if you missed out on the Crank It Ups, you can go to our YouTube channel. We have a whole Crank It Up playlist. Listen to all the horsepower from all of our leagues. Alright, lights are out. They will stack back up side by side. Alright, here we go. Pace car is in. The green flag flies. Crank it up, y'all. Still out front, followed by Mark Dantuma. Michael Whiting battling with Mark Nelson. And a bit of a mess back behind. Gerald Poole has slipped back to 6, but is peeking underneath Jess Chambers. They get it settled there, but Ryan Rourke also trying to make his way forward. Whoa! Ryan a bit loose through 1 and 2. Manages to hold on to it, but man, they are racing inches apart. The slightest mistake, somebody's getting sent around. Kevin Bruner now up into the top 10 and 10th, and Tim St. Jean, his march has begun. He is now 3 spots into 14th. I guarantee you Tim ain't done yet. And the caution is back out for Stephen Limner. Jack Wilson and Gil Guac may also have been involved. back up. Everybody had to get evasive back behind this. Wow, Clinton Chambers gets into it too. Several cars get turned around on the front stretch. Let's see, I think Robert Eggert may be the only one coming in. He is going to stay in and go to his pit stall. Mike Burgess officially out of the race. Stephen Lanier no longer on the lead lap. As they stack back up for the restart. Richie Joplin, Mark Dantuma in the front row, Mark Nelson, Michael Whiting on the second. And here we go, pace car is in, the green flag flies again. And Michael Whiting gets a run down to the bottom, is underneath Mark Dantuma for second. Lead pack all right there together. Craig Jennings and a group further back have lost a lot of ground on the restart. And that is going to put Richie Joplin into lap traffic a lot sooner than expected. Michael Whiting now clear into second, Dantuma into third. Mark Nelson in fourth. Jess Chambers now up into fifth. And don't look now, Tim St. Jean up into ninth. Tim already up 8 spots. I doubt he is done yet either. Clinton Chambers holds on in 10th for the moment. Mark Dantuma looks underneath Whiting for second. Mark Nelson trying to set up underneath and take advantage. Looks like he has got it. And may get the nose under Dantuma here. Mark versus Mark as they go off into turn one. Dantuma trying to pinch Nelson down. Richie Joplin is getting to run away. Jack Wilson has had a problem. No caution yet. Does not look like we will see the caution on this. Let's see what happened with Jack. Turn three. Oh, a little bit of bumping. Jack goes around and quickly gets to pit road. And that's how they avoided the caution. Richie Joplin's lead now 2 1/4 seconds. Mark Nelson now to second. Mark Dantuma still holds on to third. Michael Whiting at fourth. Don Warren now up into fifth. Brian Ward, despite that incident earlier, has fought his way back up into seventh. Tim St. Jean lurking right behind in ninth. Folks, don't forget, right after the race, the Unicorn will be a truckin'. Tonight, she's trucking in Europe. Yep, that'll be chaos. Make sure you tune in for a few laps. Don Moore has just taken fourth from Michael Whiting. Don quietly making his way to the front. Kevin Bruner now up into ninth as he goes by Ryan Warp. Ryan does have some damage to the right front of that car. This is not an aero-dependent track, but that little bit of damage could be causing problems elsewhere. Gerald Poole currently holds on to sixth. Started in fifth, a great qualifying effort and a good run so far. Oh! Caution is out. Steven Seams is around. Steven has taken it to pit road. Let's see what happened. There's Seams up high, letting the leaders by out of turn two. Oh, he just got too wide, got into the gap. Let's take another look. There's two gaps on this track. That gap in turn three is easy to get. And if you tap it, your night could be over. Michael Whiting, Ryan Warp, Kevin Bruner, Clinton Chambers all come to pit road. Everybody else stays out. Coming to pit road here is a risky bet. It is a long, slow trip around pit road here. The drivers all have enough fuel to go the distance. So I'm guessing a few of those guys stopped for tires. And here we go. Pace car dives in. Green flag. Back in the air. Richie Joplin holds on to the lead. It's Mark versus Mark behind. Gerald Poole slips up into fourth. Whoa, Tim St. Jean now up into sixth. Battling with Don Warren for fifth. Had a little bit of contact. Jess Chambers saw the opening up top. He's going to try and make it work. That outside line definitely gets a better run out of the turn, but you lose a little bit on entry. And Jess makes it work, pulls back up into sixth. Now getting word from pit road, Steven Seams gas pedal stuck. That is a heartbreaking situation in his rookie race. Mark Nelson is slipping back. He got stuck to the outside. Gerald Poole slips by to take third. second, this time keeping Richie within striking distance. Don Warren still on to fourth, and we heard Kevin mention during pre-race, it is very easy to burn up that right rear here. Starting to see a couple of guys that getting on the gas, that right rear is trying to step out on them. Kevin Bruner, one of the drivers that came in, looks like he took tires, as did Clinton Chambers. I believe Robert Eggert took right sides only, as did Michael Whiting. And Michael Whiting is making it work at the moment as he battles with Tim and takes 7. Oh, the caution is out. Clinton Chambers, Craig Jennings, and Ryan Warp involved. There's Clinton as he goes off into the turn. Oh, the 92 spins right in front of him. Clinton has nowhere to go. Jennings goes off into the turn. Look, oh, he gets into Ryan, has to check up. And let's see if Ryan survived that contact. There you see that tap, and no, Ryan gets the inside wall hard, and everybody manages to avoid him. Close call. Well, it definitely has been short track racing so far. The lights are out as they stack back up. We had a lot more drivers coming in. Looks like the vast majority are doing 2-tire stops. Several ended up losing a lap in this exchange. As the pace car is in, the green flag flies again. Richie once again pulls away on the restart. Now Gerald Poole and Mark Dantuma battle for second. Mark Nelson on the bottom, right behind. Don Warren up on the high side. They're going to keep battling. Richie's going to pull away again, but Gerald made clear. Gerald clears. Now Mark Nelson underneath Dantuma. And here comes Jess Chambers again. Robert Eggert now up into 7th. He's up 11 spots. Robert just quietly making his way through the field. Robert has free pizza on board. That'd be a pretty good motivation to get to the front. And the caution is out back behind. Mark Nelson, Don Warren, Michael Whiting involved. Let's take a look at this incident. getting right to Gerald's back bumper. Holy cow! He gets a big bump going off into the turn. Oh! And Michael Whiting and nowhere to go. See if we can get a look down from the chopper. Don Warren just gets a big run into the turn. It's right into Mark. And Michael Whiting, man, he tried to get on the brakes, but Mark Nelson was briefly on his side. Richie Joplin still has the lead. Nobody's been able to challenge him yet tonight, but this time he'll have Gerald Poole alongside. Mark Dantuma, Jess Chambers back behind. Robert Eggert, Ryan Warp, Kevin Bruner, Stephen Lindner, and Don Warren, the 9 cars, still in the lead lap. And here we go. Pace car flies it, green flag flies again. Worth noting, some of these drivers have lost a lap when they go to pit road to get tires, but those cautions are granting them wave rounds, getting them back on track and in a better position. Ryan Ward now up to 5th, came in, took right side tires early. Wow, right up Mark Dantuma's bumper. Jess Chambers trying to get by into 3rd. And he finally clears Dantuma coming out of turn 4. Hey, good evening, Jeremy. The Unicorn is in Europe right about now, buddy. Richie Joplin is a 9/10 of a second lead over Gerald. Caution is back out. Oh, and it's Tim St. Jean involved. Tim had lost a lap earlier when he went to pit road. Oh, he pushed up across the nose of the 28. Wow, what a spin. So Tim is not in VR. Just pushes up a hair. He thought he was clear. He does get it rolling again. All right, lights have gone out on the pace car. They will stack up. As you heard in pre-race, a new rule for the winter season, consecutive cautions will bring about a single file restart. Pace car dives in, and the green flag is in the air. Gerald gets a better restart, but can't get far enough through 1 and 2. Richie pulls back ahead. Jess Chambers now looks for 2nd. Just peeking underneath Gerald, they're about even. Gerald gets a big run out of turn 4, but Jess sends it deep into 1 and 2. And Ryan Warp is right behind. Robert Eggert now 10 spots into 8th. At the moment, the biggest mover, Tim St. Jean, was the big mover earlier on. Currently sits in 12th. He is not out of this yet. Richie Joplin out front by 9/10 of a second as Jess Chambers now has second. And Ryan Warp is battling for third. Ryan takes third. Gerald slides down. Michael Whiting back in 10th, trying to make his way back forward after that heavy hit. Mark Nelson is officially out of the race, along with Steven Seams, Gil Walk, and Mike Burgess. Michael Whiting has had a problem, no caution. Whiting is rolling, he's going to lose a lap, but he's still in the fight. Let's see what happens. Oh, Whiting's car definitely not handling right. And he gets a big bump from the 92 that sends him up the track. He did get it rolling. Now in second, about 1.1 seconds back. Gerald Poole has made his way back up into third. Michael Whiting, despite that incident, is still on track, still fighting, currently in 10th. Robert Eggert currently in 8th. Kevin Bruner up top, now in the lead lap, trying to fight his way back toward the front. At the moment, Michael Whiting is in the lucky dog position. Meanwhile, out front, Richie is pulling away from Jess. And Jess has opened up a 1.1 second gap on Gerald. But from Gerald on back, man, they are all right there. Ryan Warp right behind in 4th. Mark Dantuma in 5th. Don Warren in 6th. Stephen Linder in 7th. Kevin Bruner in 8th. Robert Eggert in 9th, and Michael Whiting in 10th. Tim St. Jean still in the fight in 11th. Ray Jennings currently in 12th. Jack Wilson in 13th. Clinton Chambers in 14th. This has been a bit of a battle of attrition tonight. Already 4 drivers out of the battle. Don Warren on the attack just took a position. Holy cow, Mark Dantuma is loose. Somehow Dantuma just saved that. A close call for Dantuma. Let's take another look. There you see the battle side by side. moment later, Dan Tuma gets that bump in 3 and 4. Bumps back off the 88 and straightens it up. And the caution is back out. And it looks like Ryan Warp involved. Remember, Ryan was in that fight. Up in the top 5, he gets too deep in, gets loose, and gets the bump from behind. Then Jack Wilson, a moment later, he pushes up out at 2, gets into the 92, goes around. Mark Dantuma and Jess Chambers both went to pit road. And it looks like both will make it back out. Michael Whiting is back to the lead lap now as well. And the green flag flies again. Richie quickly away. Gerald drops to the bottom. Don Warren now up into third. Kevin Bruner, who was a lap down not long ago, now up into fourth. Stephen Lindner currently in fifth. Robert Eggert in 6th, Mark Dantuma in 7th, Jess Chambers in 8th, Michael Whiting in 9th. Ryan Warp, the first car, 1 lap down, currently in the lucky dog position. In 10th, Ray Jennings back out on track. Now he's coming back to pit road. He had just come back out on track, not sure what's happening with that car. But nothing's wrong with Richie Joplin. He has led every lap so far. Kevin Bruner currently in 4th, one of the few cars that has taken 4 tires here tonight. It's paid off so far. Will it pay off here at the end? Gerald has his hands full. Don Warren all over the bumper. Robert Eggert now at 12 spots into 6th. So far, the biggest mover of the night. Richie's lead now 1.1 seconds. You have to wonder if one of these guys behind Gerald has, whoa! Gerald having a hard time getting the power down. And Don peeks underneath as they come out of 4. Gerald slams the door going into 1. But every time he puts the power down, that right rear is not one to grip. Whereas Don Warren and Steven Lanier in 5th has not been to pit road yet tonight. Don Warren still lurking, keeps peeking underneath. Kevin Bruner lurking right behind. Gerald may be the only thing saving Richie Joplin right now. Close. Don almost got into Gerald. He is really pushing to get past him. And don't look now. Mark Dantuma's on the move. Dantuma just took 5th from Lindner and is already peeking underneath Kevin Bruner. As Don Warren goes to 2nd. Don is now 3 1/4 seconds behind the leader. He has fresh right side tires. Richie out front, still in his original set. Will those fresh tires be enough? Jack Wilson has had a problem. No caution. Let's see what happened. Jack headed off into 1 and 2. Just gets loose out of 2. Gives the inside wall a little kiss, but gets it rolling again. Looked like Jack was just making some aero adjustments. Richie Joplin still out front, but he's about to be in lap traffic. He has a 3.7 second lead at the moment. Don Warren trying to close that gap. Mark Dantuma has made it to 3rd. Gerald Poole holds on to 4th. Kevin Bruner in 5th. Mark Dantuma does have the freshest right side tires on track right now, but only 48 laps to get to Don, get past him and run down Richie. And Richie's lead has started to shrink. Don now less than 3.5 seconds behind. And Richie Joplin is in lap traffic. Tim St. Jean back in 11th is the next car Richie will get to, followed by Michael Whiting in 9th. Richie is closing that gap quickly, but Don Warren is closing on him. Wondering where you were tonight, bud. Kevin Bruner is now taken fourth from Gerald Poole. Jess Chambers. Whoa, close call as he came by Stephen Lindner. And Jess now up into sixth. Jess also took tires under that last caution. Richie Joplin has given himself some more breathing room. Now has a 3.8 second lead over Don Warren. Mark Dantuma back in third. Kevin Bruner in fourth. Gerald Poole in fifth. But Gerald has Jess closing in. Robert Eggert also lurking back behind. Eggert already up 10 spots into A. And now is looking for a way past Lindner. Well, look forward to seeing you next week, buddy. You can come out next week, show them how it's done. Gerald Poole got way loose out of four. Jess Chambers managed to slip by. Let's take another look at this. Keep a close eye on Gerald here. No Conte just gets loose on power. That's what they were talking about earlier on in the night. That right rear gets burned up quickly. Michael Whiting has had a problem going to pit road. Michael has had a bumpy night. We knew that car was not handling correctly. He gets loose, smacks the inside wall. And it has been a bumpy night for Michael Whiting. Just under 30 laps to go. Richie has led every lap so far tonight. Don Warren in second, now 4.8 seconds back. Mark Dantuma sits in third. Kevin Bruner has made quite a comeback from being a lap down of 7 spots into fourth. Jess Chambers lost some ground earlier, got those fresh tires, has fought his way back to fifth. Gerald Poole has been running up in the top 3 all night, but as we saw a moment ago, that right rear is pretty much gone. He is just trying to hold on to 6th. Stephen Lindner in 7th, Robert Eggert in 8th, battle it out. With the leader right behind. Oh, Eggert goes up the track to a caution. Caution is out for Gerald Poole. And that definitely shook up the running. Robert Eggert had just let Richie by. Richie had not gone past Stephen Lindner. Nope, Eggert is in the lucky dog position. Alright, there's Gerald coming down the back straightaway into turn 3. And you see the back end just steps out. Wow, close calls for everybody. Folks, don't forget, right after the broadcast, the Unicorn will be live. She's trucking in Europe tonight, so tune in for some laughs. You never know when an 18-wheeler's gonna go flying. Only very talented unicorns can fly 18-wheelers. Pace car is back in. The green flag flies. 20 laps to go. Mark Dantuma battling with Don Warren. Ryan Warp has got a black flag. So does Tim St. Jean. I don't know what it's for, but both drivers are showing black flags at the moment. Ryan Warp is in. Tim St. Jean is staying out. Richie Joplin is cleared into the lead. Mark Dantuma now to second. Don Warren in third. Robert Eggert now back up into seventh, but Stephen Linder has moved to fifth. Kevin Bruner has slipped back into sixth, as Jess Chambers has taken fourth. And Tim St. Jean is in. Ryan Warp on his way back out. Tim St. Jean has been disqualified. That is heartbreaking for one of the drivers. It was the biggest mover early on in the race. Richie Joplin opens up a 1.4 second lead on Mark Dantuma. Don Warren sitting in third. He's keeping pace with Mark, but does he have anything left for him? And Kevin Bruner just reclaimed fourth from Jess. Bruner is charging. Gerald Poole is back out on track, but is in 8th place. He does have fresh tires. But man, you could tell Gerald used every bit of that right rear. These guys that took right sides early on in the race or mid-race really made the smart move tonight, giving up the track position for that extra grip. Mark Dantuma, Don Warren, Kevin Bruner, all three now nose to tail. This is exactly what Richie needs to see behind. Four laps to go, and if these three are battling, as Kevin Bruner moves to third. Mark still in second. Richie out front. And here we go. 2 laps to go for Richie Joplin. He qualified on the pole tonight, has led every single lap. And next time by, he'll lead the most important lap. The white flag flies one more time around. And back down into 3 and 4. Richie Joplin wins the season opener at Lanier. Mark D'Antuma holds on to second. That was close after a late race charge from Kevin Bruner, came home in third. And let's talk to our top 3, starting with Kevin. Kevin, apparently giving up the track position for tires was a good call.
Yeah, it worked out good for me, Doug. I gained 2 positions. I was hoping for another caution, get a just shot at Richie.
It was definitely interesting seeing you a lap down at one point, but now coming home on the podium, that was a heck of a run. And that last couple of runs definitely seemed like you had the best tires out there.
I tried to take care of them as best I could. They might have got away from me there, and I let them get too far ahead of me, too conservative.
It still worked out. The strategy was great. You come home in third. A great way to start the season. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. That's definitely way I wanted to start.
Well, great job tonight, bud. Mark D'Antuma comes home in second. Mark, you could pass everybody tonight except for one guy.
Yeah, I kind of wrecked him Tuesday or Monday night, so I figured I'd better lay off tonight.
But why?
Well, I kind of cost him the win Monday, so I figured I'd give him the win tonight.
But why?
That is true. He's a teammate. These Navy Joe Coffee Company Dodge Chargers are just hauling anchor out here, so it was good to finish 1-2, and congrats to Richie.
It definitely was. It was a heck of a run. You definitely had your hands full with Dawn tonight, but man, you held him off. One heck of a job tonight.
Thank you, Doug.
And finally, our winner, Richie Joplin. Richie, man, you just ran away with that.
Yeah, it was a good run. I mean, I didn't know the tires were going to last the whole 200 laps. My right front, I actually saved my right front this time.
Well, I have to say, we saw a lot of guys having problems and burning up that right rear, especially late in the race. Saw several guys having problems getting the power back down, but you definitely held on to the car and held on to the tires to make it work.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to give a shout out to my setup company, Outlier Speed Company. They're the one that gave me this setup, and it was quick and stable. I mean, I try to save as much tire as possible. I mean, my right rear is down to 35% for 200 laps.
Wow.
And it didn't feel loose whatsoever. So, I mean,
that's pretty impressive. That right rear should have been going around on you under power.
Well, I was backing off a little early and just letting it coast in, trying to, just get it straight as possible coming off so I won't be leaning on it too hard. But, man, I appreciate that setup from them. I mean, it was real good and stable and quick, and got to give a shout out to Ally Wheel Repair and Navy Joe Coffee for being on my car.
Well, man, great job. Great win tonight, buddy.
Thank you, Doug.
Well, Richie Joplin gets it done, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll try and do the live switch over again. Don't know if it'll work, but either way, the unicorn is Euro trucking, so make sure you come back here in a moment. Stick around, folks. This is going to get good. Thank you guys so much for being here. Enjoy the trucking. Have a great night, y'all.